It's the energy of the room. This is the food. If you feel it, I feel it. So that's the, yeah? A little sense of something here? Don't you feel a little lighter when you leave here usually? Then it seems to wane the effects. The effects only wane because of a you. Because now when you leave here, the mind interprets as, oh, this happened to me. That's when it starts waning the effects. That's a constant state. This is a flavor of it, but it's the constant state is always so. It has different flavors when it moves through you, yes? But it's the same. It's like you'll know. It's the same at all times, no matter what. This does not blink. It doesn't take a breath. It doesn't have to get ready. It doesn't take a vacation and come back. It's always on. There's no entrance point. There's no exit point. You're on the ride. There's no getting off until maybe when your body passes away. So you're on the ride. There's no choosing to get on it and then choosing the idea that you've been off it. That's what most people are doing. They've already chose the idea that they're off it, and then maybe they entertain, I'd like to get on that awareness thing. Maybe it would help me. I'd feel better about that. But the fact is, they're really entertaining that they could possibly be off it. That's the lie. There's no getting on. It's just the way it is. Yeah. If you break it down, you'll see. What's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching? You? If the noise happens outside, don't you hear it? Were you waiting to hear that? I think I'm going to get ready to hear that noise outside. And I don't want to hear that noise. You're going to hear the noise. If there's a noise and your ear's pointing in that direction, there's hearing of it, yeah? Your little yapper up there has no power over it. Has no power of changing the reality, the factual reality of conscious contact. What it does is, it takes your attention and hijacks it, yes? And feeds it this storyline that I'm what's conscious, I'm what wants to be conscious, I'm what isn't really conscious, but we really would like to practice to become conscious. I, me, my. But all the while, at every step of that construction of selfing, there's an awareness of it. Every step. You may not be aware of it, but there's an awareness of it. Yeah? So do you want to be the thing that can be aware, half the time, or do you want to be the awareness? And then what answers that is the selfing. I want to be the awareness. No, you fucking don't. You want no. No, you don't want to. You don't want to be free. You just want to have a better self. You want everything to get better just as you are. That doesn't the way it works. The party gets great when you don't show up. Seriously. No, it's true. No. It's going to be my new book, Life Without Paul. It's great. No. Really. The thing is waiting to get something, isn't it? It's waiting to get something. I'm going to keep coming to these meetings until I get it. No, you are it. You are it. You have no say. You're either going to come to the meeting or not. Your narration is, I chose to come here, but in fact, I don't believe that's the case. Yeah? So, sorry I didn't record it. What happened? I missed it all the time. The best ones have never been recorded. Meant to be for the bonus. Any questions today?
So I was thinking about any type, there was a sense in my life a long time ago that if you got the right interpretation, but now there's a sense that anything that I describe, no matter how even-handed I want to be, is done out of my imagination, so any interpretation I have can never be true.
Well, that's right, because it's an interpretation.
And we're living almost entirely in interpretation.
But there's an awareness of that. So you don't have to change that you're living entirely in awareness, or an interpretation. Just attend to the awareness of that. And that awareness will suck your attention from giving that such a reality. And then that whole production will move to the background, and then the background, which is the awareness, will move to the foreground. The emphasis will shift, and you'll travel lighter. That's what's happening now. If you're entertaining it, you can tell the truth. You may not see giant leaps, because the mind doesn't want to see any progress. But I think most of the people I've worked with, they've allowed themselves to travel lighter over time. Hallelujah. What more do you want? Literally. I mean, you can't change the terrain of your life, your destiny. You know, if you're going to get cancer, you'll probably get cancer. If you're going to be married twice, you may be married twice, maybe a third time. You never know with some Irish dude, skinny Irish dude. Who knows what's going to happen? But the fact is, you can travel lighter over the terrain of your life. Yeah. I mean, what better gift to ever have here than that? Because everyone tries to promise, oh, we can change your destiny. Give me a break. You don't need to change your destiny. It's the destiny of an apparatus. You don't have to change that. This was like the viewing station. There was a choice. You're viewing life from this little apparatus, in a sense, yeah? But to travel lighter through the train, whatever it is really a joy. Yes?
You know, I was coming to your talks about a year ago. I stopped coming for a while.
That's right. We kicked you out of the cult.
You kicked me out. No,
How did you get back in?
I'm in the back.
Claude, bad doorman. Take him out.
To be honest, I got frustrated with it because I'd come and I'd hear this. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. And so, what do I do again? How do I get this? And I never got that method. You know, I mean, I blank out when you were telling us, you know, well, do this, that, and the other. And you know, in this time, I've not forgotten anything that you've said or everything.
I have. That was good.
Everything, and it was just kind of it mulled around in there. I have to say though that not being able to describe it, I am walking lighter. I'm still sober, and I'm just. I think it just comes down to what you're saying today. Just be aware. I mean, don't be the one that's aware, but just.
That's right.
I don't know. I mean, again, it's hard for me to put my finger on it, but it is just entertaining. You said that. Just entertain the idea that you're not the self that you think you are. And, you know, I'll have a bad day still, but, you know, it works.
See, the thing with me is like one of the things I found when I was out there is that I hadn't heard this possibility. I believe we have, all of us, a great power to entertain, but we need the possibilities before we entertain. We can't entertain, a lot of times we can't entertain a possibility that hasn't been introduced. But if there's a possibility that's been introduced, I can entertain it. When I was out there, I had never been introduced to it. Yeah? So all I did was what we do as in selfing. I try to do and have myself into a better condition. And I was drawn to spirituality to attempt that. You know, I wasn't drawn to making tons of money or being a CEO or whatever. Yeah, my attempt as a self to get better was through spirituality. After all the drugs and alcohol, but that I practiced religiously also. Both of them I wanted to transcend my basic state, and I can tell you I was thoroughly a perfect practitioner of drugs and alcohol, and you cannot transcend anything through drugs and alcohol. I can unequivocally say that, because I was a perfect devotee of drugs and alcohol. And you cannot transcend it. Yeah? But there I was. So I attempted to get better through practices, spiritual practices. And I was in that marketplace for quite a while. I had been in it when I was younger, and then when I got sober, I went back in it. Because I figured that was the only place I ever found value in life, was in those practices. So I went back. After 3 years of sobriety, I got into it again. And for the next 10 years or so, I was seeking and looking and practicing things. But formulated in self-centeredness, which is I, Paul, as this, am now going to do something and have something for this to get better. And I didn't know any better. That's the only way I could think. My thinking and all the possibilities I entertained were defined by self-centeredness. I can't think outside the box, because if you think That's still in the box. There's no thinking outside the box. There's none, really. So there I was, and then I saw this woman, and she shared from this position, this pointless point. And I could sense it. I could sense the flavor of where she was coming from, I felt. And I started to entertain the possibility of what she was intimating, or what she was pointing at. And that ability to entertain was always there. I just hadn't had this possibility dropped in. As soon as it dropped in, I could entertain it. And when I entertained it, it became the last answer to me. It was a done deal. Maybe I'll get a new answer, but I haven't for years, yeah? It became the last answer for me. It was all right, it's a done deal now. Now I have a meager understanding of what's actually not happening here, which is Paul. And so that Paul doesn't have to be so into doing and having, because it's not going to bring about any great radical shift, because it'll just be Paul getting better. As a Paul, and a Paul, if it can get better, it can get worse. And that's what happens, yes? Better and worse. And I don't want to live like that anymore. So then I started entertaining this, and then through entertaining it, it's amazing if you turn on your ability to entertain to something that's true, what it will produce. I mean, we're entertaining what's not happening. And we can entertain it so thoroughly it can override what's happening. We have an incredible ability to entertain. So there I was. Finally, I started entertaining something that was actually true, which I didn't know it was at the time, but I know it by its fruits, yes? Like Jesus says, I know the tree by the fruit. So ever since I started entertaining this produced a lot of freaking good fruit in my life. So I figured, hey, this is a damn good tree. So if I'm going to sit under any tree and get hit by any fruit from any tree, it's going to be this tree. And so that ability to entertain, the way this seems real to you is we've been trained to entertain it. When you were a kid, you weren't seeing the world as you see it now. You were trained through education and conditioning to see it this way. We're entertaining this place as being real. That ability to entertain is very powerful. We're trying to loose it from self-centeredness, because in self-centeredness, there's only a very limited small possibilities, and you and I have entertained every one of them. What we're doing is just entertaining them over again, making them look new and turbocharged, but they're the same old. Yes? You've been through every inch that self-centeredness has to offer. You've been into every nook and cranny already. It's a dead system. Yeah? What this is a message about another possibility, not from here, but dropped into here. Yeah? Into self-centeredness. And so we try to present it so that self can understand it but the envelope is the conceptual language. The invitation is the verb of it, the feeling of the energy in a room. That's the message. It's the verb. We're trying to signal you through the noun that you're a verb. That's all that's happening. We're trying to tickle what is a verb through this fucking shell of a noun. And everyone feels it. What happens a lot when I do these talks, especially where I traveled, they hear it and they're really excited, and 2 days later they're shell again. They start thinking about it. That's why I usually have to get out of town in about 3 days. Because the mob can turn angry. And they were totally lit up when they were hearing it. They're like, yeah. They go away into the system of self-centeredness. 3 days later, they're, he's attacking, he's this and that. No, I'm just an inviter. I'm just inviting you. But this is what happens. Selfing is a very tenacious little system. It's like the Old Testament God. Really, it sounds to me, the Old Testament God sounds just like selfing. I will smoke you, don't put any God before me, I'm a jealous God. It sounds just like my head. You know, I mean, maybe they the whole Old Testament may be selfing, the whole thing. Yeah? So that selfing wants to play God. That's what it does. And when it sees its utter unreality, it doesn't like that message. What you are loves that message. So there's a big resonation, there's something that resonates in you, but then the cloud of selfing comes over it and tries to rain on it. Yeah? So that you will keep believing, no, this is the way it is. So you'll hear people share. They'll share, oh, I really felt the light. I felt this, but, and then the world starts. B-U-T, B-U-T-T, really. I mean, the world sucks. But then they go, oh, I really like the life. I felt so free when I said, but I've got all this to do and to have in the world. It's so real and this and that. Hey, that's like, you can't serve two masters at the same time. This serving this master frees you up to travel lighter in this world of the other master. Serving that master excludes this. This is a very inclusive master. That's an exclusive master. It wants to exclude you by having you as a noun. This is very inclusive. What's not happening is recognized as something that happens and what's not happening. It doesn't say anything about terribleness of it. It's just not happening. So tell the truth. Wouldn't you like to experience actually what's going on now for once? Instead of, wouldn't it be nice to walk through a room and actually experience the walking into a room instead of experiencing the thinking about it? The thinking, how about, I'm going to the store. Why not go to the store when you get there instead of thinking about it for 4 hours? I'm going to the store today. I know, but you're not going to. But I am going to the store. This is my preliminary thinking. Then I go to the store. But if you've been thinking when you never even experienced going to the store, you miss it. Then you leave and you forgot something, like always. Oh, I forgot something I really wanted at the store because you've been thinking the whole time. Yeah, someone you feel love for. It's unbelievable. Storms of thought. It's like the parasite. Let's say there's a natural feeling for someone. The parasite just jumps out and thinks, contaminates it. So now love is seen as a threat. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just you can't even respond to natural feelings anymore. It's like, oh, I really like but. It's just like everything you eat. It goes, Parasite, lead the way. Okay. Oh, what is this? Oh, it's just, I remind you of something. Okay. It reminds me of something. Oh, this reminds me. Oh, this is just like my last relationship. It's like deadening, neutering every day. Of course you're unhappy and you want to get loaded. Fucking who wouldn't? One of the most valid reactions I ever had was to get loaded when I was young. I was being taken over by the parasite, and what the fuck? I want to get relief. Then I'd be getting relief, and the world would see me, and what they gave me, what their great solution was punishment. If you get loaded, you're going to jail. I would pay any consequence not to feel uncomfortable now. That was my nature. But I wanted some fucking relief. No punishment. Don't do it. Hey, all right. But as soon as you turn your back, I'm doing it. Because I feel fucking shitty. Because I'm being taken over. Don't you notice? No. We've got goals we're living for. Yes. Have you experienced walking into a room the last 20 years? No, I'm always going somewhere. There's something in the room I have to get. That's what's important. Okay, so you live life like this. You leave here to get to the car. You get to the car to go somewhere else. You get there to go somewhere else. Then you want, and then back home. And then just shut down. We did this the other day. You're on a plane. Let's take a 15-hour flight. Let's take two people, or there's two chimpanzees and two humans. Yeah. So the fight goes on. And about an hour into the flight, the chimpanzees start picking at each other, A lot of intimacy, they're eating the little things off them. And then the next one picks on them. The humans are just staring straight ahead with the movie, totally isolated. Don't look at anyone. No. I'd rather have an empty seat. Oh, food, yes. Good movie, yes. 800 movies, yes. Channel. Oh, book, yes. Everything. The chimps are having intimacy. Oh, yes. No. Isolation is the best. I don't want to talk to anyone here. Just straight ahead. I can't wait to get to New York. And the chimps are eating, partying. What a fucking way to go. You think we're so much, I'd rather be the chimp. At least there's some fucking contact happening. It's crazy, yeah? So I don't know. That's that. Oh, no, it isn't.
I just want to say, that reminds me of, when I'm alone with my dog, do something that
In a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say, that reminds me of, when I'm alone with my dog, I am absolutely me. Or I'm not even thinking about being me. But if somebody's around watching me play with my dog, I might not be that person.
Wow.
I might be active. I hate that.
Yes.
I find more intimacy with my dog.
But that intimacy can be expanded. No, it doesn't have to be, but you see, to me, one drop of the water expresses the ocean, if you get it, yeah? So if you have a sense of intimacy, that's better than most people. They don't even have that. They really don't. All they're trying to do is get replacements for intimacy.
It feels impossible with people.
Well, that's through the thought. The thought, see, the selfing arises, and then because there's one aspect of selfing called self-consciousness, is where it gets really absorbed as what it thinks other people are seeing it as an object. It's called self-conscious. So you try to think of how people are viewing you as an object, and if you're identified as the object, it can drive you crazy, yeah? Because you're thinking they're judging you. They're not even seeing you. They're seeing the apparatus, the action figure. Yeah, come, John, get some relief. Because those thoughts aren't you, and they're not about you. But if you're holding them as that, your attention will be drawn into believing it, yes? That's the false evidence appearing real. The head in selfing is constantly dropping in false evidence, and it can't really manifest unless it appears real to you. You have a role in all this. The false evidence is seen, and then if it's seen from the ignorant point of being a self, yes, then it appears real. So the fear is like hatching in here. So it's false evidence shows up, and yet if you see it as point of view from a self, it appears real to you. And now you're in anxiety. Once you're in anxiety, obviously, you're probably not entertaining that you're the light. Yeah? Because you've forgotten the light, and now you're in the anxiety, seemingly. But you are the light. That's an activity called selfing, trying to share about it so that you can recognize it. If you can recognize it, that informs you cannot possibly be it. You can't see something that you are. The eye never sees itself. It can't. All there is seeing happens, but it can't see itself. You can never see yourself. It's all you are. You can see from yourself. That's why I don't believe you can know the truth. You know from the truth. You know what I mean? See, the self thinks it can know the truth because it plays the subject and makes truth an object that it can know. That's not what's happening. The truth is all there is, and you're seeing from it right now, but not as a Paul. That's a story about the seeing. Yeah? Yeah.
So, you and other teachers have said, though, about turning the attention back
Yes.
to itself. So how that seems to contradict what you just said.
No. Good way to do. No, there's nothing. Well, there's always contradictions, but if you want, this is a thing you can do called self-inquiry. So here's the attention. Yes. Remember, this is duality. So yes, no, hot, cold. So your attention goes like this, both ways. Yeah. So your attention goes out, and it hits things. Yeah. It acknowledges things. And then, that attention enslaved to self goes to self. Yeah? It doesn't go to its true nature, it goes to self. It gets hijacked. Yeah? And so, you attend to things, that gets interpreted as you, and then those things now refer back to you. That's called self-reflection. So all day, we're living like this, mostly. Yeah? We're living on hitting things, and then everything is referring back to me as a Paul. Yes? Called the loop of self-importance, or self-reflection. This allows you to reflect on what happened. Yeah? You're aware of it, and then that reflection goes to you, and you get absorbed in that because you think it's you. So it's a movement, yeah, of energy. Yes? Like this. Let me see. So here I am. So now we're going to ask a question, a subjective question. They call it self-inquiry. It's a very good little tool. And you're going to take, so this attention wants to always know what that is, and now it thinks it knows. That's the dilemma. That's selfing. It's frozen. It's inquisitiveness. So it wants to know what this is. Yes? I want to know what you are. That tree is this. So we're going to say, well, we're going to use that same inquiry and go, who am I? Yeah? We're going to take this attention that goes this way and point it backwards. Yeah? Who am I? So what's that tree? What are you doing here? Who am I? And then this attention, because it believes, selfing, yes, that that's who it is going to turn around and answer the question. Yeah. So who am I? This attention that's been just worshiping at the altar of self obviously responds as me and goes, and sometimes the mind will go, oh, well, it's me, but the attention does go this way. Yeah? And if you say, okay, so it says, it's me, and you ask it again, well, who is this me? You will run into the real nature, which is awareness. It won't have any face on it, it won't be Paul, and usually there'll be a pause. It could create a pause in you, which startles the selfing into a stop. That pause is eternal. Yeah? So like for me, I used to do it, so let's say worrying about next week was happening. So I go, well, who's worrying about next week? So that attention that was going to all these things that caused me to think about next week and why I should be worried, goes, who am I? And the attention I was dwelling in selfing all day goes, oh, I've got to answer the door. But it doesn't go as self because it's not self. It's attention, consciousness. So it leaves selfing and it goes to answer the door. And when the door opens, you see the you that was looking for sees what's looking. And it ain't you. So there's a stop. The energy can drop and you get a free sample. Yeah. It'll startle the selfing into submission for a second, or it can, it has the possibility, and there'll be a pause. Yeah, there'll be a pause in the selfing, because selfing's a verb, and it can be stopped. It can be, you can throw a wrench in it. So this is one way, it may help. So there's your energy. So it's always looking out, isn't it? When you're walking around, you're smelling, feeling, tasting, touching, thinking. So that part of the energy is always going out, meeting things. This part of the energy is always going back into self, referring all the contact back to me, saying, I'm what's in contact. I am what's in contact. So we're going to ask, who am I? So this I, busily being the I, goes, what? I heard the door. And it turns and meets it. And because it's not the self, it's the awareness of it, the awareness meets the awareness. Yes. Example, bingo. A pause happens. Just like right now. There's your freedom from the bondage of self, right? Pastor Baskin?
Paul,
Yeah.
I saw this thing about relationship with other people.
Yeah.
It seems like the minute you're not trying to get anything from them, they're absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. With everybody. So if there's ever a problem in relationship with anybody, it's got to be with me. Because if I don't want to get anything out of them, I haven't seen anybody who doesn't give unconditional love. Just like a dog, you know. So people are groping and want this unconditional love. It's everywhere. It's everywhere from everybody, not just the dogs, you know.
Well, that's a good starting point. Yeah? Dog or an orchid or, something. See, because to me the principle is revealed. If you can feel intimacy with a dog, you can feel intimacy. The dog is your vehicle to learn that you can feel intimacy, period. Just like surfing may be my vehicle to realize the spontaneity of each moment and how fluid everything is. Yes? But it doesn't have to stay in that arena because your mind can entertain. Yes? So, if the mind is shut down and then the dog allows you to open up, that allows you to entertain something. But if it's entertained, it can spread to other people and yourself. You can start being intimate as you. Yes? In public. Yeah. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it has to happen or doesn't have to happen, but that's what happens. The possibilities expand. Yeah.
My tradition's been awakened, conservative consciousness. My selfing is progressive in nature. It's a mental and physical obsession. So for me to quit cigarette, I would use that spiritual tool of a pause before I smoke. Would that help?
Yes. Pause is a great spot because pause is actually eternal. It's a timeless event in time, yeah? Isn't it? If you notice, a pause doesn't have the same flavor of like a typical time moment, does it? It's just a pause. Everything is sort of hushed and, yeah. Where a lot of moments have a certain feeling of time in them. Yeah? Moment, next moment, next moment. A pause doesn't have that, at least in my experience with it. It doesn't have the time feeling in it. So that's eternal. That's a possibility. So a pause can be the start of your whole new life. That pause, that whole new life may not have smoking involved in it. Who knows? Because from that pause, anything can start happening. Yeah. Without the pause, in linear time, the same old seems to keep happening.
So that, my true nature has a ritual of smoking.
No, not your true nature. Your body, brain does. Yeah. Yeah, your true nature is witnessing the smoking. It's not having it. Yeah. See, there's a difference between awareness and what it's aware of. Yeah. Awareness has its own nature. It doesn't pick up the nature of what it's aware of. It's actually immune to picking up any nature because its own nature is awareness. Yeah. So whatever it is aware of, it doesn't take on the qualities of that. See? So what happens is we're aware of the body, but we've applied the body's qualities to the spirit. We think of ourselves as a body when we think of ourselves as a spirit in a sense. So we're taking the qualities of this and putting it onto what we truly are. That you can't adapt awareness into a name and form. Yes? It doesn't mix in a way. All it is seeing. It doesn't become what it sees in a sense. It doesn't lose its nature by seeing. Yeah? Yeah. That's why when seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, that's what Buddha supposedly said at one time. He says, when living, see when see, hear when hear, feel when feel, taste when taste, touch when touch. That's what's happening. Yes? It's just that awareness of conscious contact is all that's needed. It doesn't have to be you that's aware of it. That's a story. The awareness is already in place. You're aware of conscious contact. You have to be. You're conscious of a day to make up a story about it. Yeah? Yes?
Okay, so maybe we'll cross a little bit. But talking about conscious contact with our sensory outlets. In the steps when it mentions conscious contact with your higher power through prayer and meditation.
Yes.
You obviously can't see it, hear it, touch it, smell it, taste it. Isn't essentially I pray, I meditate part of selfing,
Yes.
and therefore
But praying and meditating aren't selfing. It's the I pray, I prayer, and I meditate selfing. Prayer and meditation is just something that happens here. Yeah. And the idea of a higher power, see, most people in selfing, they can't believe that they're the higher power because they already believe that they're something. So they have to throw the higher power outside of them. But for me, it doesn't matter. Just to be able to entertain something new will probably lead you to a new relationship with that. Like for me, the idea of a higher power is always available at all times with no requirement necessary for me to meet it. It's like a present tense verb. I'm a present tense verb. End of story. Yeah? So I don't believe that I'm in conscious contact and I need to be in conscious contact with a higher power. I believe conscious contact is the higher power. That's conscious contact. The conscious contact is that. And for me, I want to have an understanding. I want to have an understanding of the higher power's own understanding. I don't want a higher power of my understanding, because self will always have a higher power, but will be less powerful than self. If you notice, when push comes to shove, your God doesn't save your ass. Selfing runs the show. So I want to have an understanding of its own understanding, which is the higher power. I don't want my understanding of it because it's going to limit its possibilities. I want to know its own understanding. You know what I mean? You know, awareness has its own understanding of what it is, which is it's all-encompassing, unbelievable, whatever. Why would I want to have what my head gives me, which is always going to be a weaker God than the God of self? Always. So I don't, this isn't taking apart the book. This is just adding on to it. Yeah, we've been sober a lot longer than the most people that wrote the book. Yeah, we're supposed to add on to it. It's not supposed to be dogmatized and, frozen into one interpretation. When people say there's only one way to do the steps, even Bill W. And Bill Caesar says the steps are meant to be interpreted. So did Bob, the co-founder. And yet people pontificate about there's only one way to do the steps. It's ridiculous. They should study the history of AA. Their saints may not have been saints. This is an invitation. It's meant to be living. It's added on to. So we're just adding new possibilities to an interpretation. Yeah. Hopefully it'll help you. That's the whole point. It's not to better anything. This is clear. I don't care. It's just that I want to see you travel lighter. It's one of my problems, I'd imagine, as a selfie. I want to see you travel lighter because it's so fucking obvious to me that you can. And it just blows my mind. You keep on, fucking producing anxiety from what's not happening. I mean, shit. There's enough to deal with in a day. Why do you need mythical 40 years to bring anxiety in about? Yeah. So, I just want to hey, here's some meager offering. If it works for you, go for it. And I'll be here and we'll be here to entertain the certainty of it 3 times a week. That's the point. Repetition is helpful. Because your head is in a trance, and it may take a little shaking to wake it up. And some people, you wake them up, and you leave the room, they're asleep again, seemingly. So you have to come back and wake them up. Hey, wake up. And then they get longer periods of being awake, and then they may doze. Hey, no, wake up. And then, yeah.
But Paul, for every one input that you put in us, we get 10,000 that are telling us that we're a self.
Yeah, but this input may be real, and those aren't. So it overrides the 10,000 bullshit. Once you recognize a bit of truth, it overrides 10,000 pounds of bullshit. It's when bullshit and bullshit are being entertained. You don't know what's bullshit or not. But when you entertain, to me, this was for me, when I heard this, was an unspoken yes. Someday, somehow, you're going to have to rely on you as an authority. And to me, as an authority, this is it. And so I feel it can override 10,000 other inputs a day because it's real. It's got a quality they don't have, which is it's real. Yeah? I'm telling you, you are doing a yeoman's job entertaining what's not real. I mean, it's like we're all miracle workers. We're making what's not happening to seem to be happening. That's incredible. Can you imagine if you turn that ability to entertain onto something that's true? It's going to have an incredible, radical effect on your life. Why? Because it's true. Yeah, so. Any more questions? This is a
great one.
Long one here. Any more Zen bitch slapping needed? No? You've been slapped. The spiritual subpoena has been served. Yeah, there you go. All right, well, we'd like to end with the Serenity Prayer.